when Thomas Tuchel announced the plans for his first game in charge as Chelsea head coach. Mason Mount would have been forgiven for thinking, "Here we go again." The previous game Mount was on a high, Frank Lampard making him captain against Luton for what turned out to be the final game of his reign. A few days later Mount was on the bench.Yet. Another challenge had arrived that Mount needed to overcome, a recurring theme in his career. After the latest eventful and whirlwind period at Chelsea, Tuchel wanted experience over youth, and flooded his team with more senior players. Callum Hudson-Odoi aside. To say Tuchel's reasoning was not quite what Chelsea's youngsters were hoping to hear would be an understatement. Mount, Chelsea sources say, swiftly but respectfully argued their case.Products of Chelsea's academy. He, Reece James and Tammy Abraham might be but inexperienced kids they were no longer. All had proved themselves on loan before being key figures in Chelsea's top 4 finish last season. With all respect, Wolves at home was not a game that was beyond them. Tuchel, of course, did not change his mind. He is the boss and calls the shots. But he still loved Mount's reaction, delivered direct and on the spot, rather than second-hand, from the heart, rather than the result of any outside influence, and sticking up for himself and his teammates. Tuchel took Mount to one side to tell him as much. The 22-year-old midfielder has barely been out of Tuchel's team since becoming a player the German knows he can rely on, especially on the big occasions like Saturday's FA Cup final. Like Lampard and England manager Gareth Southgate, Tuchel has quickly developed a huge admiration for Mount, declaring it enthusiastically whenever the opportunity arises. Those feelings are mutual, with Mount enjoying life working under Tuchel and his coaching staff just as much. And how Mount has progressed since Tuchel's January arrival is merely a continuation of what has happened throughout his career. Mount is a manager's dream and always ends up finding his way into their teams because of the range of qualities he possesses. Technically gifted, versatile, reliable fitness-wise, a relentless worker who delivers in training as well as games, can run all day, and takes it personally if he loses. Mount does all the right things, and ticks all the boxes for his bosses. And whenever obstacles have been put in his way, Mount has simply crashed through them to continue his journey from Chelsea's academy to the top. Mount arrived at Chelsea aged 6, quickly displaying the infectious personality, attitude and tenacity that have become his trademark. Though when he stepped up a year to train with an under-14s group that included the likes of Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori, Dominic Solanke and Jake Clark-Salt, there were concerns about how a slight Mount would handle the physical difference. It was probably half his body weight, and maybe even a foot in height, remembers former Chelsea youth coach Michael Beale, who oversaw the session during which a baby-faced Mount stuck a Cristiano Ronaldo-style free kick in the top bins, creating the social media clip that has gone viral since his breakthrough. The team he came up to train with was very successful, and Mason was a little boy from the group below, but straight away he made people open their eyes. Some kids, when they're competing, there is a lot of stress on their face, but he was very calm. He got stuck right in, loves the challenge of stepping up and thinking that someone else is a good player and going toe-to-toe. Mount remains fearless and willing to get in amongst it, where the boots and tackles are flying to this day. He might have suspected he was going to get clattered before scoring Chelsea's clinching goal in the Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid, but he was not deterred. He knows there's a goal in there, and will do anything to get the goal, one source said. To many it was also no surprise that goal came following an earlier miss from Mount, such as his renowned desire to put things right if they ever do not go to plan. A younger Mount's willingness to test himself was also evident in how he relished any chance to see how he stacked up against Europe's best teams in overseas academy competitions. In 2012, a determined Mount refused to let an ankle injury rule him out of the second youth tournament when Chelsea played in Holland and were flying direct to another in Moscow. Mount ended up just doing rehab for the first few days in Russia, but was hell-bent on being there so he could contribute once fit. I think he just wanted the opportunity to go abroad, knowing he would be able to play against these top teams, because he was always seeking the next challenge, now Rangers assistant Beale said. The look in his eye when he got the chance to play the Ajaxes, Barcelonas, Real Madrids. He seeks out challenges and competition, whether it's someone bigger, stronger or reputation, whereas a lot of young players can hide from it. He'd go up against the other team's best player and really want to compete at that level, which is unique. His little tit-for-tat with Tony Cruz, that's why it's been interesting to see, because that's the Mason I know. In a very nice way, not in an aggressive or arrogant way. That's his little bit of competitive nature coming out. To think he is doing it now with people like Tony Cruz now, I think it's fantastic. Beale saw Mount's competitive streak resurface again during his loan spell at Vitesse Arnhem. Mount had spent the summer captaining England's under-19s to 2017 Euros glory and was named Player of Tournament. The young Lions progressed, delaying his arrival in Holland. Mount tried to limit the damage by taking just 1 week's holiday, though as he was still playing catch-up he initially struggled for game time. But Mason was determined that he was going to get in the team. Beale said. He stuck it out when one or two others have come away from their loans. Mount did not make his first start until October, but ended the season as Vitesse's Player of the Year. At Derby there were a few doubts, even held by some at Chelsea, about whether he could then handle the rough and tumble of the Championship. "44 appearances, including the playoff final, 11 goals and 6 assists later." Mount had delivered the answer. Over the last couple of years further questions have followed. Was he ready to make the step up to Chelsea's first team and the Premier League? In his first season especially, Mount had to deal with accusations he benefited from favouritism from Lampard. With England he found himself, through no fault of his own, pitted against Aston Villa's Jack Grealish. Not one to complain, both widely held debates went largely over Mount's head. Instead he just got on with the job, leaving his performances to speak for themselves. It was similar last summer, when reports from Germany suggested Kai Havertz's arrival had put Mount's nose out of joint. Unhappy and worried about the competition, more like excited by the latest challenge, and determined to prove once again how much he deserves his hard-earned place in the Chelsea team.